Good evening, and welcome to another episode of The Hidden Agenda. We've actually got a special guest tonight. Alderman Tim Rhodes is back with us. I think this is the third time you've been on?
Third time's charm.
You start becoming a regular, ain't you?
I'm liking it. I'm loving it.
We're going to talk about a few things tonight. One of those things is going to be, I'm trying to get my volume adjusted right. I'm wearing a different set of headphones tonight. Voting. I've had a lot of people just contacted me about how to vote. They don't quite understand it. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring up a picture of the ballot and explain to you first about how to vote, how simple it really is. And then we're going to go back and then we're going to go over some things that we've been over in the past and see if we can't get some clarity to some things. Voting records, I know I discussed it Sunday, I believe it was, but I think it's something that we need to look at doing again. But anyway, I'm going to pull up the ballot right quick. I'm going to show you guys a picture of the ballot. All right, if you see here in the ballot, there's pretty much, the simplest way to look at it is there's little blocks. You're going to see like the mayor race there. It'll have Andy Anderson, Gordon Wildridge, and then it'll have a third block that you could work for a write-in. So what you do is, with the mayor, you can pick one of those blocks, whether it's Andy Anderson, Gordon Wildridge, or if you want to take and circle it up in there and put Tim Rhodes up there, you can. Tim's not signed up as a write-in candidate, so it would not count. And there is a fourth option. If you don't want to vote in the mayor's race, leave it empty. It's called undervoting when you do that, but that's okay. I mean, there's nothing that requires you to vote for somebody. If you don't like any of the candidates, then you can simply refuse to vote. That's totally up to you how you vote. But that's all it is. You take that one box and you decide it's either going to be Andy Anderson, Gordon Wildridge. I'm going to write somebody in, which there is no write-in candidate, so if you write somebody in, their vote's not going to count. Or you don't vote at all. That's one block, and that's all you got to do. What you cannot do is if you like Andy and you like Gordon, you can't vote on both. You have to choose one in that block. We'll come down to the next block and look at the same thing here, where we've got, I can't see it that well here, but I know Candy Davis is in there, Donna Rawls, Jack Johnson, and Fred Ellis. You can pick any of those four that you want, or you could do a write-in, which again, to my knowledge, there was no write-in candidates in this election. So if you fill in that block, if you darken that block and put a name beside it, the vote will not count. But pretty much you can take in each one of these blocks here for mayor, for alderman position 4, alderman position 5, alderman position 6, and then the four school boards. You can pick one candidate out of each block, and that's it. Can't pick more than one. That's all it is to voting. It's not that hard. It's and if you have any questions about it when you go in to vote, I'm sure the people at the Election Commission will be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So don't overthink this thing, and don't be afraid of it. It's just it's simply just filling in a block for the candidate you would like to see get elected. It's that simple. I haven't gotten any comments, but if anybody along the way who comes in late watching the video from the start has any comments about it, please do not hesitate to chime in the comments or send a text or a message to either me or Tim, and we'll be more than happy to come back and address that there. We want to make sure that you guys understand how to vote and how simple it really is, and there's nothing to be concerned about. All right, moving on. Let's go in and let's talk about voting records. Now there's some more talk about it today. Some additional posts being made, and a lot of the information I'm seeing in the post isn't factual. So I want to come in here, and Tim is here, and it helps to have him here because he voted. So, but having him here, you can understand the reason that he voted. So let's go back to last year, to 2024, in the city budget cycle. Now understand, when a budget is passed, there has to be 2 readings. So they have to have 2 meetings where they actually discuss it, and then they vote on what the budget's going to be. Last year, in the very first reading of the budget, this is what happened. Initially, when they started talking about the budget, Gordon Wildridge made a motion for a 22-cent property tax increase. And when that vote came around, when it finally came around, Tim and Gordon were the only 2 who voted for that 22-cent property tax increase. Tim, why did you vote for the 22-cent property tax increase?
The 74 cents was on the table. It was that was what they had planned. Actually, that's not what they wanted to settle for. But to actually balance the budget, Gordon had taken a good hard look at it, and Gordon's good with numbers. I mean, he's a successful businessman. Obviously, he knows how to read a budget. He knows how to make things work. But he had done that, and that was basically what it was going to take to make the budget balance out. So that's where we were at. The mayor was proposing 74 cents. That was his proposal.
Right.
That was his budget, 74 cents. And at that, right there in the beginning, they had the votes to make it happen.
Right. So understanding what Tim is saying there is, Gordon proposed 22 cent to avoid having a 74 cent
To
property
avoid
tax
74 cents, yes.
Okay. And when the vote tally came up, Gordon and Tim were the only 2 who voted for the 22-cent property tax increase. Okay, as discussions continued, eventually they came back around, and Alderman Fred Ellis, and I almost can quote this because I've said it enough, I make a motion that we accept the mayor's recommended 74-cent property tax increase. That sound about right?
That's very, very close. Correct, yep.
So, Alderman Ellis made the motion for a 74-cent property tax increase. Well, when that vote went around, the vote ended up being Alderman Ellis, Alderman Lofton, Alderman Williams, Alderman Wood, all voted for that 74-cent tax increase. You, Gordon, and Jimmy White voted against it.
Right.
And that was it. That was the first reading of the property tax last year. So, when you look at it, on the first reading, you've got 4 votes for it and 3 votes against it. Well, and this here's where the thing comes in. That's the first reading. You got to go through it twice.
And let me say this. After that vote, after our meeting was adjourned, I walked across the middle of the room. I met the mayor on my way out, and I said, there's no way I'd vote for 74 cents. He looked at me and kind of laughed and said, I can't believe they voted for 74 cents. We only wanted 50.
Now you're understanding this is where things happen is they were really wanting a 50-cent tax increase. Yep. And they got a 74 going the first go around. So now we come back into the second meeting, and for those who weren't paying attention last year, there was a lot, and I mean a lot of issues with the way they were holding meetings. They weren't following state law, trying to get this second reading passed. And eventually, when they finally got to that second reading of the property tax, this is where we ended up. Fred Ellis was what they call the swing vote. You have to have 4 votes, period. 3 votes will not pass anything on that city board. Majority is 4, so you got to have 4 votes. They had to have one person who is willing to come to the other side of the table and discuss things and figure out how to take and get this thing passed where it wouldn't be too hard on the citizens. Now, Fred Ellis was not going to accept no property tax increase. So it came down to the fact that you had to figure out what Fred would accept, and you'd have enough votes to keep from getting a 50-cent property tax increase. So understand that. This here is where the big issue lies is this is politicking. This is what politics is all about. Gordon had, and I had talked to Gordon during the budget cycle last year. I had talked to Tim. I had talked to Jimmy. I actually was talking to Fred. For what it's worth, during the first reading, I asked for a copy of the budget, and the mayor kept wanting to push me to City Hall. Well, at this point, I didn't trust City Hall. I wanted to get it from an alderman. And as I'm talking, the mayor continued, go to City Hall, go to City Hall. And I will say one thing for Fred Ellis. He stood up and he said, hey, look, you know what? If you guys are okay with it, I'll share information with James. And Fred did. You know, for a while there, we were sharing information. And eventually, I can't give you the dates. I'd have to go back through my cell phone and look at texts. Fred stopped giving me information. I think he was catching a lot of grief from certain aldermen on the board about sharing information with me.
You think?
Because he was being an open book with me. I mean, he really was.
Right. He was allowed to talk to you at the time.
Right. And they approved this in a meeting. Why on earth you have to approve an alderman to talk to a citizen during a meeting, I don't understand.
He asked permission.
He did. He asked permission, and he was granted permission. But eventually,
I don't know that the permission he was granted was
all-inclusive.
Yeah.
And in Fred's defense, I mean, he was sharing everything. I was asking for previous minutes, previous information, and he was sharing everything. So, you know, kudos to Fred Ellis during that time frame for actually doing that. But somewhere along the line, he got pressure to stop sharing information with me, and he stopped sharing information with me. So just, you know, so you guys know that there. All right, let's get into the second reading and what happened. When the second reading came up for the budget, and they were going to go back in to start voting again, Gordon made a motion to present a 15-cent property tax increase. When that went around the room, the vote ended up being 4-3.
I was shocked.
I was too.
Shocked.
But Fred,
he done the right thing.
He done the right thing.
I was shocked.
He did the right thing at that point.
It didn't earn him any brownie points. So
No, it didn't. No, and that's but Fred did the right thing at that point by saying, hey, you know what, 74 cents too much. Even though he was the one that made the motion to do the 74 cent originally, they were able to take and come to a way to conclude where we can get this thing down to 15 cent. Would they have gotten a 74 cent property tax? Maybe, maybe not. Would they have gotten a 50 cent property tax if no one was actually talking? I'm going to say they would have.
They would have got it.
They would have got a 50 cent property tax increase.
They would have got it.
which would have been, wow, triple what we got. So at what point do we have to sit there and say, okay, what was more important, to get a property tax down to 15 cent where we could get the votes to pass it, or to sit there and take a chance on getting a 50 or a 74-cent property tax increase? The sad thing is that's governing. Now, if Tim, Jimmy, and Gordon would have voted for no property tax increase, and if, let's just say, Roger Lawson would have made a motion for a 50 cent or a 74 cent, if it would have passed, that would have been it. We would have got it. There would have been no choice. And even though Tim and Gordon and Jimmy may have voted what the constituents wanted, they would have let us down. Sometimes you got to make hard decisions to do what is in the best interest of the citizens, and I believe that's what y'all did.
It's almost like a game of chess. I mean, that's exactly what it is. I think everybody would love no tax increase. That wasn't going to happen. They were not going to let that happen. They were going to, if the 74 cents, which they run that over us at the beginning, and then I guess, I don't know, maybe Fred took a little slack over that. But I don't know. But I'm just saying, the next time he was more willing to kind of go the other way. And I couldn't believe, because he was on the fence for it, and I couldn't believe that he actually went with the 15 cents, because they did not. And the reason that other bunch did not is because they were ready to come back and pop that 50-something cents up there.
Right.
And that would have went.
Right. And that's, so you want to know the truth about a voting record? 2024, the property tax increase was voted on by Tim Rhodes, Gordon Wildridge, Jimmy White, and Fred Ellis. Those are the four who voted in the property tax increase. But this is why the voting record doesn't tell you the truth about what's going on. You need to know the reason that they voted the way they did. They were doing everything they could to protect you from getting a 50 or a 74-cent property tax increase. Am I right?
You're exactly right. I didn't want any kind of increase at all, but that's what had to happen to prevent it.
Right. And that's I'm not sure how that property tax could have been repealed, Clay. I mean, once they voted in, that's the will of the board. They're following the I guess the best way to put it is they're following what rules are. So I don't know how on earth you see that could have been repealed. I mean, I just don't get it. Did we need the 14 cent, the 15 cent? I don't believe we did either. I don't think anybody would argue that.
No, we come up with a surplus this year.
Exactly.
But just like you've already said, when they were wanting that 74 cents, if this doesn't pass, the state's going to come in and take over.
Oh, yeah.
And, we're not going to be able to, our credit rating is going to go down. Our bond ratings are going to go down. We got to have this 74 cents. We don't want the state coming in here and taking things over. And that was the whole thing they were pushing.
Okay. Then the next board votes it out. How do you know what the next board's going to do? You have no clue. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball to tell what the next board's going to do. Don't even know who the next board would be.
That's a big question.
Yeah, that's a very big question mark that sits out there. And, even right now, we have no clue who the next board is going to be. We don't know. We'll know sometime probably around about 7 or 8 o'clock on September 11th when the election ends. But bottom line is, they voted what they thought was in the best interest of the citizens. And now what you're saying, Clay, can it be repealed? Now, I'm not going to say it can be repealed, but I will say that the board can go in there and vote a lower property tax if they want to. Well, I don't have a crystal ball that 50 cents would have been approved.
But it got common sense.
Yeah. I saw 74 cent get approved. So, yeah, would I have thought 50 cent would have got approved? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I would have been worried about the 74 cent getting approved.
Just like somebody texted me, fear-mongering, which is that's what it was.
That is it in a nutshell. If you go back and you listen, I believe it was the May 28th, 2025 was the first. I'm sorry. Hold on a second here. Let me pull it up right quick. I believe it was May 28th, 2024, but I'm gonna content view all.
I think the 28th was the first night.
Yeah, I think the 28th was the date for it. I'm double checking here to make sure. It was May 28th, 2024. If you actually look on our YouTube channel, it'll say BOMA, B-O-M-A, which stands for Board of Mayor and Aldermen, May 28, 2024. Now, it's about a 3-hour video because there's a lot going on in that video. It's well worth looking at that video and listening to the mayor. I mean, he really was, fear-mongering is the best term for it. He was doing everything he could to justify a 74-cent property tax increase. I mean, you're right. Threats of the states coming down and taking over the city, and
Landing on thick.
oh yeah, it was. And when you listen to that, there, that's something that the board is listening to from the mayor, who is the one who actually drafts and proposes the budget. I keep hearing the mayor say, "Well, it's the board's budget." No, it's not the board's budget. The board. Did the department heads go to the board and say, "Let's draft the budget together"? They go to the mayor and the city
They go with
recorder,
the mayor. Yep.
and they draft the budget and they present the budget, and that's how it's voted on. That's just the reality of it. And the mayor went up there and said, "Well, this is the reason we need 74 cents." And if you went back in and you looked at there was 3 budgets, and I've got them. I don't have it up here right now, and it'll take a little bit too much to try to get it done. But I received a text from Alderman Sandra Wood, about how many budgets were there. I was curious how many budgets. She was the only one that replied to me. There's 3 budgets. There was one for no property tax increase, there was one for a 50-cent tax increase, and there was one for a 74-cent tax increase. And as you said, the mayor was willing to take the 50.
They wanted the 50.
They wanted the 50.
They didn't think 74 would ever pass. He was shocked. He was shocked that 74 went through, and told me, "We didn't." I'm shocked. I can't believe they voted for that, and laughed. All we wanted was 50.
He got 74. Yeah, I mean, there was a public outcry over 74 cent, Clay. I mean, would there have been a public outcry over 50 cents? Yes. But what good would it have done if, sitting in that meeting on a second reading, the board sat there and said, "Well, again, if one of the other ones decided, hey, I'm going to make a motion for 50 cents, it goes around and it gets voted on. The public can cry all they want. At that point in time frame, it's legally passed, and we got a 50-cent property tax increase sitting on us, and there's nothing that we can do. We're stuck until hopefully a board would change and come in there and do a reduction in rate. But that's still flipping a coin, because who knows where the voters are going to stand.
I don't know that I've ever seen that happen.
No, well, you know what? Over in Parsons, they're reducing their property taxes over
Really?
there. Yeah, they're I think they're continually doing it. So, why are we still beating a dead horse? Well, that's pretty simple, because we still have people calling and asking questions. Not everybody knows what's going on. And if you don't like the dead horse, you know what? You can always hit the "I'm done with this" page, and I can leave. Bottom line here is, people want to know the truth, and we're bringing them the truth. And if you don't like it, I mean, the simple thing I can tell you to do, Nelva, is to, go elsewhere. I mean, you don't have to be here.
Somebody said proposing 74 cents first, and makes anything less look better. So if they propose a 74 cents and then only got 50, it'd make them look like they was doing what's best for the citizens.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a ploy. It was a trick. But, like I said, they were after the 50 cents.
Well, now, and I want to, I want to get into something here that I'm not quite, I don't know. We've had 2 property taxes increase. We didn't have one this year, which really blows my mind. Is the mayor told us about the apocalypse was coming last year if we didn't get 74 cents.
Yep.
Well, you got 15, and if my math is correct, we're talking, what is 15 from 74? 59?
59 cents.
Even 50 cents, if they would have wanted 50 cents, that still leaves 35 cents on the table. So last year, and even the mayor in that May 28th, 2024 video, if we don't get it this year, we're going to have to get it next year. But yet, when he presented the budget this year, there was not a single property tax included.
Wonder why.
Well, I thought the mayor was done, wasn't going to run for mayor anymore.
Well, as soon as it was a balanced budget, it was no property tax increase. I looked at one of the aldermen, and he looked at me and said, "He's running."
I thought the same exact thing when I saw it. I mean, it's like, yeah, this was a setup for it. It's yeah, and here we go, and understanding how much money we're talking about here. Last year, the value of a penny was right around $26,000. And understand that what that means is when we got a 15-cent property tax increase. Okay. Every penny of that 15 cent, there's 15 pennies there, is worth $26,000. So let me check the math right quick. 26 times 15. That generated $390,000. If they would have got a 50-cent property tax increase, that would have generated $1.3 million. Let's even go one step further, and let's just look at the 74. 74-cent property tax increase would have generated $1.924 million. So we ended up with $390, and we had a surplus at the end of the year. And they were wanting at least $1 million more.
Right.
And would have been happy if they had got 1.6 million more.
Lord, yes.
Almighty.
All the toys you could buy.
Ooh.
Cars, trucks.
All right. Now that we understand why the point of you really need to understand why somebody votes the way they do, it plays a part. You really need to pay attention to how people vote. But you can't live on just a voting record. That is nothing more than a campaign strategy from people to either talk up a candidate or talk a candidate down. The truth of the matter is why they voted for it. There's a reason why they vote. And that's what you need to be talking to them about and asking those questions. You don't need to ask us. Well, but right now we're sitting here and we're talking to an alderman who was involved in all of that and what happened. And the same thing we've been saying, he's up here telling the same thing. You did it to protect the people.
To protect the people.
That's it. So, don't jump to conclusions when you deal with that. Now, I want to come in to talk about debt a little bit. I'm swinging Tim out a little bit here because he's not sure of everything that I've come to plan on talking about today.
Well, you didn't even know I was going to drop in tonight.
Well, I didn't either. I mean, you kind of threw me for a loop.
Well, if you'd invited me for supper, you probably don't.
Well, I figured you had.
Well,
I figured you were going to get in there and
I don't turn down many meals.
Right now, what do you want to move forward on? I mean, right this moment, we are talking about the election, and this is the questions that people are bringing to us. Now, the Montgomery thing, yeah, we're going to be talking about that, but we've got to get to that point. We just brought this here up. We just became aware of it, and we're getting there.
And that hiring freeze you're referring to, I tried that, and matter of fact, I was lied to on it.
Yeah.
And then I tried it again. I brought it up again at a meeting, and it was voted down 4-3.
Yep. And again, all this information here is seen in videos. And like I said, what we're doing here is we're continuing to get questions asked, so we're continuing to bring the information out there. so more and more people have access to it. This is what it's about. Um, uh, but so let's get back to something. And you're right. I'm going to get to it, Clay, and I'll tell you something too, Clay. I've did some reaching out today, and I am going to, since we're here, I'm going to just discuss it a little bit. I plan on reaching out to you and Philip both. I had texted Diane Berryman McGuire this morning about the museum and what we did last year.
Right.
And to see if, since we brought light to this subject here, has it actually increased? And it's not a lot, but I think Diane said the numbers year over year was a 5.6% increase in visitors to the museum. So you know what? Yeah, bringing light to subjects is definitely working. And I don't want to mix that in with what we're talking about now, because I'm afraid it'll get watered down and lost in this conversation. This is something that, and I really would like to talk with Clay and Philip about it, because I believe there's a lot more in this city that we have history on that we're just not using for our benefit. I know there's a lot of talk in this election about tourism, but you know what? Why aren't we maximizing the tourism aspect of it?
It used to be better than it is now.
Yeah, so I mean,
out there at the lake, they used to bring these barbecue teams in that would come from out of state. They would set up some of the most elaborate. They would camp down there on the edge of the water. I don't mean they didn't camp in tents.
Right.
I'm talking about these dudes brought in some heavy duty equipment, and they set all this up, and they were there for days, and they were competing for all this right here, and they had some people just coming everywhere to do this, and they had anything but pork, and that could mean it could be a strawberry cake cooked in a Dutch oven. But they had pork, they had just everything. I can't remember what all they were, but then I can remember at one time I guess they come out of Fort Campbell, and they were paragliding down, shooting the red, white, and blue smoke out behind them over the lake. At one time, they had boat races out there. Miss Budweiser, they had those Miss Budweiser boats out there. Them boats run 200 miles an hour. There was a crowd of people out there all the time.
Yeah.
They were using that lake for tourism,
right.
For what it is.
Right.
Three Dog Night came. Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show came.
That's what I've heard about some of these great bands that showed out there, and I wish I would have been here for that.
I think it was Redbone that came. Come and get your love, yeah.
That's why we're not doing that. And the lake is just one thing. The museum is another thing. The Montgomery Center is another thing. I know Philip does tours every now and then downtown. I mean, there's another avenue, that we can come back in here, and if we worked hand in hand with Parker's Crossroads, we can get a draw there, and then we can get people here. I mean, maybe we're just not looking at this the way we should be looking at it, or maybe we've lost the ways we used to do, and we need to get back to that.
We do, just like the things I was mentioning just then. Those people, like when they had those big barbecue things, and music. They used to have music. Like they done away with the music too. Well, about the music. I mean, we can get into that part, but who doesn't like good music? But they competed for music. They came out and played and everything. Well, when those people come in, they stay at hotels.
Yeah.
Hotels got that other tax on. I mean, that's revenue right there. When they stay in all these hotels, that's revenue. When they go out and eat, that's revenue. When they go get their snacks and all that, that's revenue. That's revenue that's lost right now.
I had a customer of ours, and we've talked about it a couple times. I believe we talked about it yesterday. It was yesterday afternoon. They were talking about the property tax. And at one point, I think they lived in Spring Hill, Tennessee. And you know what? And Spring Hill put on a pretty good property tax. Nobody over there complained about it because there was so much to do. There was just so much in that area that they felt like, hey, we're paying a heavier property tax to get some, but we have all these things to do here. And that's what he was saying is we don't have that in Lexington. And we don't have any, I don't see any foresight of that happening, and I really believe that that is a failure. Here is, I'm just going to say it, and I'm sure I'll step on toes, but I don't care. Yeah, our chamber is responsible for that. But I see leadership classes, I see local businesses that they promote that pays them dues. Local businesses that don't pay them dues don't get any respect, but yet they receive tax dollars from the county and the city. And what are they doing? Now granted, they did have the boat races this year, but I mean, really, what is happening to come in here and try to take and bolster our tourism? I just don't see it.
Mr. Teddington, I assume he's talking about Mr. Buddy Teddington, was over the boat races.
Now, Kenny, was this the first boat race this year, or is this something going back a ways?
That would have been back a ways if it was Buddy Teddington.
All right. Well, Kenny, can you tell us whatever happened to the boat races? Why they stopped doing them? Was there a reason? These are things that, what. Yeah, if we want to get into tourism, it's a great thing to take in. I don't know. I look at how much that we're leaving money on the table. And there's other things too that Blake has been sharing with me that he's been digging into different types of grants, and in different aspects, not just tourism, but different aspects of grant monies that we're not utilizing, we're not taking advantage of. And again, that's money that grant money, yes, is taxpayers' money. But if we don't get it, somebody else is going to get it. And I would sooner take those grant dollars and get as much as we could here to benefit our area.
Right.
But let's go back in here a minute to debt, because this is something that has been brought up and talked about. And obviously it was an issue we addressed somewhat on Tuesday. The city is in debt. There is no such thing as zero debt. That's a crock. Again, and I got to ask one question here. The gentleman that came in here on Tuesday, which I'm assuming the mayor or maybe some aldermen got together and, hey, we need to bring this guy in here to give us a pat on the back and act like we've done a great job to help us get votes. How much did we have to pay for that guy to show up?
I have no idea, but I bet he didn't come for free.
This is something too. Okay, noise pollution. All right, I'm going to go back here while I've got Kenny on. I'm assuming you're assuming it was shut down because of noise pollution. Well, then there goes why we probably don't have the Metal Devastation Festival coming out here anymore, because it was noise pollution.
You should hear some of these big Dodge trucks with them big diesels with them big pipes
going down the road. Those noise pollution too. Can we outlaw them?
Hey, you talking about the last one they wouldn't let have? You know what? I'm like, of course I'm a rocker, and rock and roll ain't noise pollution, and that's just me.
Amen. I'm right there with you, brother. Right there with you. And that's the thing is, yes, the lake does get utilized for certain things, but how much are we not doing with the lake? Why aren't we maximizing that there? This is where the problem lies. We don't utilize what we have. And I'm telling you, I'd be willing to bet money there's promoters out there who would bring in musical acts, and I'm tell you what, the revenue from it would just be, or would just be on so many different levels how it benefits not just, you're right, hotel motel industry, but even the small businesses, and people walking town, and we might actually see more growth from this here because more small businesses would be getting involved because there's a much larger customer base at this point. That lake should be, we got a beautiful lake with a beautiful stage and a beautiful area, and we just don't maximize the use of it.
Stage didn't have rails.
I'm sorry.
Look,
and
I've seen a lot of bands play at Memphis, Nashville. I've never seen a rail.
Well, I got a question for you. Is there a rail at the auditorium at LHS? I had never seen one
No,
up there.
no,
So how are they on a stage with no rail?
I don't know.
You know what? I'm gonna call that another crock of crap that gets fed to us as the reason things don't happen. You know, that's what it is. That was a way to shut down one act because somebody somewhere didn't like what was going on. And you know what? And to sit there and say, what was it? They're going to open a portal to hell.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Come on, that's just crazy. All right, we got some more popping in here, so we're gonna get back in here. Donna, bond issues are typically paid a half to 2% of face value of the bond. So yeah, you know that's we've got a lot of debt. You know, at this point, after the $4 million was passed, we should be sitting at $74 million in debt, not zero in debt.
Oh yeah, I thought I was supposed to say they said it was zero.
Yeah, well, you know what? I had a banker come in today. I was talking to another customer of mine. We were talking. I said, I brought up what happened, and he had seen somewhere somebody had posted something, and he's like, "What on earth are they talking about? Debt is debt. There's no such thing as zero debt unless you don't have a balance."
And I saw where somebody posted, and I thought, well, he said, so if I borrow $1 million and I make all my payments on time, that means I got zero debt. He said, tell Equifax that.
Exactly. You know what? That goes back on your credit rating. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the city has to have a bond rating,
They do.
which works the same as a credit rating. Well, maybe not the same. I'm sure there's some differences in there, but the principle is still the same. You know, that's really what it gets down to. All right, we got some more popping up in here. How about forming a destination management organization? What does the Chamber of Commerce do? I agree with something like that there. If it's something where we can sit there and look at I'm going to say this here, and I'm also going to piss people off here. We need to get rid of the same old names that are doing all these different clubs and organizations and boards and committee assigned by government. We need to get some fresh blood in there if we're going to do something different. Because guess what? By doing the same old thing, the same old people over and over and over again, we got the same old results over and over and over again. We need fresh people doing these things here. You know, and that's that's where it's at. Yeah, I mean, but Vivian, you're right. What does the Chamber of Commerce do? The best thing I can tell you to do is look on their Facebook page, because that's really all I think I see them doing. And I believe they get $50,000 from the county, and is it either 10 or 12,000 from the city?
I believe that's right. I really don't. I can't say for sure.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the budget to see, but I know they get $50,000 from the county, which was raised when new mayor came in. So yeah, it's that's really what it gets down to. Donna's up here talking about the bonds here. 50 Cent. All right, now I'm assuming we're talking about $1 million bond here, Donna. 50 Cent would be 20K, 1% would be 40K, 2% would be 80K. Oh, and that's on a $4 million bond. All right, now I'm seeing the whole thing here. So yeah, that's what we're paying off. You know, that's what we're paying on. That's what we're paying to borrow the bond, to borrow the money. We're not borrowing for free.
No.
Nobody's going to loan us money for free.
No.
So there's definitely there.
And the guy that was there is a bond salesman.
So yeah, and Nelva, you're right. Madison County's enjoying the revenue of the Metal Fest right now. And I'll say this here: last year they have it at the what's the little bowl over there in Jackson?
Yeah, I know you're talking
the
about
AMP.
The AMP.
They have it at the AMP. Last year, the Metal Devastation Festival set a attendance record at the AMP. We could have had all that revenue, and those people spending money. We could have had that revenue in here, but we've lost it. That's it's another issue we got. Kenny, going back, I didn't miss you there, brother. Yeah, you're right. The revenue would be astronomical. We're not taking advantage of what we can. But where the problem lies here is, again, having the right people in the right positions. And I think we need to have people in charge of things as far as tourism when we're dealing with the lake who do not live on the lake. Because I think they have too much control over what happens at the lake. That's, and I'm sure I'll step on toes there, but I don't really care. We need to get people who are out here trying to I mean, you told me Black Ark Arkansas was out here one time?
No.
Okay, all right. I thought somebody told me.
No, I've been there.
Johnny Cash, was hitting him?
Johnny Cash, yeah. Johnny Cash. And not just metal devastation.
No.
Because I'm not into that type of music anyway. I love rock and roll now, don't get me wrong. But you could have some good country music up there that would pack the house too.
Yeah, we could.
I mean,
And I mean, you think about it, up here in Huntington, the Dixie brings in some good acts.
Oh yeah.
They bring in some acts from the 80s and 90s who were popular.
Yes, and people like that would still pack the house.
And Henderson, I think they do the same thing as well. The Freed Hardman University will do the same thing. They'll have acts like that.
They sure do.
So yeah, and let's going back to the Montgomery Cultural Enrichment Center.
But what's happened is you denied one group.
That's right.
When you denied that one group, you're basically denying everybody.
Would you want to call over there if they've denied? And you'll tell you what, musicians. I played music for a while. That was in my younger days. I was a lot lighter back then too. But we kind of stuck
I'm looking
together.
at us on this podcast, and I feel so small. I'm 230 pounds of smalls, isn't there?
It's kind of like
I do, Kenny. Yes. I was at Pratt's Park every time that Raising Cane, Snowblind, Revolver, Paper Castle, Battle of the Bands, Mickey Gilley.
Really?
Yes,
Oh.
Mickey Gilley was there. Crystal Gale was there. Billy Carter came. Yeah,
Man.
sure enough. I do very well remember Pratt's Park. That was Lexington's little Woodstock.
Why we don't have this anymore? I mean, I just don't get it. And I'll tell you what, there's bands. I mean, the Carl Perkins Center over in Jackson. I've gone out there to see Gary Allen and Neil McCoy, two of my favorite acts from the 90s. And you know what? And they don't have the big draws like they used to have. So you could probably bring them in here and make money. You may break even on paying them and whoever it is that you need to pay to hold the concert, but it's all the accessory sales that you'll make money on.
Right.
The lodging, the food sales, and yeah, we sell alcohol in this town. The alcohol sales, all of that stuff would actually help increase our revenue base. And if you did this here once or twice a month for 6 months out of the year, man, the revenue we could draw. I mean, we've lost a lot of what we used to have, and we don't show any signs of getting it back, and I think that needs to change.
Kenny, do you remember the Rock 104 air balloon they had over there? He'd go up, and there was a guy up there. He was throwing out T-shirts. Man, he was throwing out T-shirts, and I had one. I had Rock 104, and had this guy high stepping on there. I wish I still had the shirt and could still fit in it.
Well, and Delva, you got a good point there. Battle of local bands. One of the bands I used to play in when I first got out here, we traveled quite a bit. I mean, we'd go down. We'd be down in Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, and we went to quite a few of the battle of the bands with local bands, and and it was fun because there's a camaraderie there with musicians, and we kind of tend to take care of each other. It's competitive, but it's also it's a brotherhood, just like pretty much everything else. There's so much that we could be doing that we're simply not doing. And it's a lot going on that we just need to get the right people. I think we really are missing out on things that we used to have.
I do remember the hot air balloon. And the helicopter rides, yeah. They were good times. They were good times.
You know what? You want to talk about drawing our younger people back in here?
Right.
This is the way to do it.
Right,
Give them something to come home for.
right.
You know, what do they have to come home for now?
I don't know, and I want to keep them here too.
That's it.
I got 5 grandkids. I want to keep them here. I don't want them to leave. Them being here is the reason I'm here. I mean, really, when you get to thinking about it, but
Have one at the lake a while back. I'm assuming you're talking about. I don't know if they had a battle of the bands, but honestly, I played. The band Hers. They had done something. You know, they came out of the high school band. You know, that's where those guys met. I know Don was brought back in at a later point. But you know, they put together and they raised money. They sold tickets and they raised money for the high school band. And the very first one they did, I can't remember the name of it. I think it was called the Beach Lake Music Fest. I don't think I got it in here. No, I probably got it in another room. I've actually still got my my pass that I had for that there. Our band played that played that first show, and I'm gonna tell you, it was amazing. There were some really good musical acts, and actually I met more people. Got to jam with some more people after that gig. Yeah, and we had a blast. You know, and we had a very good turnout, and we were there supporting the high school. The revenue being generated from that there, from the ticket sales, was going back to the high school. You know, like I said, Hers is the one who promoted that. And if you guys haven't heard Hers, that is a phenomenal band. They are extremely tight. They've been playing for a long time together. They have got it. I mean, they're just a really, really awesome band. But you know, they did something for our community based on the locals. You know, using local bands. Why aren't we doing that anymore? Why aren't we? I mean, that money went back in for a good cause to help our students in the band program. You know, there's just amazing opportunities here that we have actually looked. We lose out on because we just don't have the right people in place trying to promote these things. And that there, I'm going to tell you something else too while we're on that conversation. Adam, that guy puts out some phenomenal musicians. We have some super talents in this area. I mean, some amazingly talented people. Casey Stanfield, I don't know if you guys know him or not. I had the pleasure of witnessing him play a couple times, and that kid is just phenomenal. He's just one of those. He's one of those multi-talented musicians. Captain Willis and his kids, man, they're amazing. I'm going to tell you something. Scott Ozier, Scott and I played together for a while in a band. I went to a gig that oh shoot, what the heck is Calton's band's name? I've been out of it too long, but Calton's band was playing at the Deuce, and me and Scott and April and Whitney went to go see him play, and Calton brought an extra sax, and him and Scott got up there, and I mean they were having a battle back and forth on the sax, trading licks, man, and it was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, when you see something like that, there are two musicians that are local in our own backyard that had that level of talent. I mean, I've been to clubs all over the place, all over the world, and some of the best sax playing I've ever seen happened at that night.
Also, we got one a young woman who lives right here. Her daddy, back in the day, he's passed now, but he played at Loretta Lynn's. He was a music. A magician. I'm trying to say musician. He was a magician, Cowboy Louie. He went to all the schools. And he went up to Loretta Lynn's and did all that. Well, his daughter, Tanya Mitchell, opened. She had a career of her own. She was signed by Justin Timberlake's bunch. Opened for NSYNC. Had a career going of her own. She's a local right here. she was performing. I saw a thing go through Facebook where she was performing up in Union City at their big thing up there just not long ago. But here we are.
And that's, heck, Buddy Cannon, some of your kinfolk.
There you go.
I mean, we've got some phenomenal talent that has come from here and is still sitting here in our backyard. And should we be pushing it? Absolutely. I'm going to jump back up in here and get into some of these questions. So we've got a lot. You're right, Frida. The AMP uses a lot of local bands. You're right. We have got some amazing talent around here. I mean, some absolutely amazing talent. You know, I could sit here all night just counting off names that, you know, just blow my mind how good they are. And you're right. There's open area at the old airport that could be used. I mean, you know, for smaller indoor venues. I mean, the Montgomery Center is there. I believe Paris is going to be playing there September 27th. You know, which is gospel. I mean, heck, Blake Stanfield, one of our county commissioners, is in a gospel quartet. I mean, we've got just amazing artists in all different genres sitting right here, and we really need to be doing everything we can to try to promote that. And you know what? It pushes them. It gives them some exposure while getting paid, which I hate that thing. I hate when somebody calls, hey man, will you play for free for exposure? Well, dude, I tell you what, man, next week I'm having a party over. Can you bring over wings and beer for exposure? Kiss my exposure butt. You know, Vivian, who is responsible for tourism at the government level? Honestly, that would be the chamber. The government pumps money into them, and there is, I'd have to go back through. It's been a long time since I've looked at the laws in regards to how chambers are set up and funded, and but they are really the ultimate. They are our tourism representation within the county and the city. All right. Yeah. My hometown has, this is Bobby. Hey, Bobby. And yeah, I know your family's going to be relocating down here. You know, they have an event called Gearhead Get Together. Town of 2,300 people brings in over 10K people for a one-day event. You know, and this is it. I mean, we have, you know, we have so much opportunity here. Frida, my grandson Dylan. Yeah, I know Dylan's playing with Kelso Mojo. Phenomenal band, and let me tell you right now, Lori and Ken I absolutely love. They are just wonderful people, and if you ever get a chance, I'm not saying not to go to their full show, but to go see Lori and Ken acoustic duo, and I know they play at Manny Monroe, and just tune into Lori singing for a little bit. Especially there's certain songs she is my favorite singer in this area. Is she the best singer? To me she is, but to some people she may not be. I don't know, but what I love about her, I believe what she's singing. She really pours her heart into it, and that's something that's, you know, I've been to a lot of shows, I've seen a lot of professional acts that, you know, I didn't get into it because they didn't convince me that they believed what they were singing. And she's just one of those ones that does that there. So yeah, and you're right, Kimberly Helton, Emily Ann, Brian Moffitt, Andy Avery, Lindsey Russell, and you're right, Frida, there is so much here.
Larry Bedwell, former of Raising Cane.
Boy, that's a bad man on guitar.
He's a bad man with a guitar.
I'm going to tell you, there's, you know, we could go on and on and on listing musicians. I mean,
Frida Rhodes, just her daughter. Yep. She's a great singer too.
You know, there's just so much that we have here, and why we don't promote this young talent. And I mean, you think about it. You know, what happens when we start doing this thing here on a recurring basis, and then all of a sudden, a Nashville producers want to take a vacation for a weekend getaway and to do some fishing, and said, you know what, heck, I'm going to go down to Lexington. I'm going to fish Beach Lake because they're going to have some live music with local acts.
I know a Nashville producer.
Do you?
Yeah,
Any relation?
just a little bit.
But you know, they come down, do some fishing, and then they listen to music, and they're like, wow, I love that voice. I love the look. I can make that person a star. You know, it's so much that we could do and we could gain from. You know, and we have gotten so far off topic, and I don't
Yeah, we
really
have.
care.
Well,
I'm
we're having
actually
fun.
loving it. That's
We
right,
might
we're
do
having
this
fun.
after the election. Hey, I'm game.
Well, you know, that's what I'm people, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm sure Tim will tell you this here because we've had conversations about it. September 12th, I'm going to celebrate because I'd be happy that this one is over with. You know, I really want to. I really want to get back into. I want to do more. I want to. This is what I kind of want to do. I want to get into a different direction. You know, whether you people think that I enjoy what I do, sharing all the negative, I really don't. You know, I just don't. I do it because people ask questions constantly, and you know, but this is what I'm enjoying. Honestly, I would love to sit down and have a podcast with Clay Crook and Philip Renfro and just listen to what these guys have to offer and say about our history, because I don't know nowhere. I mean, I don't know just a smidgen of it.
I want Clay to come on and talk about the Battle of Lexington.
Why are we promoting that?
I don't know. You know, you hear about the Battle of Crossroads,
Yeah.
but I may be wrong, but I've heard the Battle of Lexington was bigger. I may be totally wrong on that, but I guess Clay would know.
I'd be willing to bet money he probably would. I'm going to tell you right now, up here at Crossroads, somebody's done a damn good job of marketing. Yeah, you know, I would love to see this here. Yeah. Actually, at Vivian, Scotty was with a band called Save and Able. They were actually a national recording act. Oh shoot, Stephen Pulley and God, I'm brain farting right now. He's playing bass now with Alan Warren. Oh, I'm brain farting right now. Trash Brand, they've got a swamp music type band. Oh my gosh, phenomenal musicians, absolutely. I mean, just phenomenal. But yeah, we definitely got tremendous arts. You know, music is art.
It's art.
You know, I'm going to tell you right now, Amber Douglas and what she's doing up here on the Court Square with all the paintings on the walls and murals. Mm-hmm. That's an art, and you know, and that's something that's. You know, the Miles Darning painting, I think, was the first one that came up.
Right.
You know, that is just, that's amazing. And there's history right there. You know, that nobody talks about and we don't push and promote. You know, there's just absolutely so much we can do with arts. And again, I'll catch more crap about this, but I'm going to say it. Our focus is always on sports. And don't get me wrong, I think we definitely need to focus on sports. But I think we're letting we're letting those talented kids down who get into music and arts. We're kind of letting them down by not doing anything for them.
I agree. There for a while, and I don't know what it's like in school now. If they when I was in school, they had music, they had art. I don't know if they do now or not. I really don't know.
Well, I know LHS has a band. I don't know how I believe that the elementary schools are.
They used to have it in
doing some
elementary back then. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe they're doing some music involved in all that there as well. And you know, and this program that we're trying to work with the Francis Hensley Center, with the schools, and that was one of our points of it, was to try to take and promote more arts with the children. You know, I think what we need to do is find some people who are passionate about it, and who are willing to jump in there and promote and push. But like I said, we got to have some fresh blood in this thing here, because if we don't, we're going to come up with the same stagnant ideas, and that's not going to get us anywhere. We got to have some people, and you know what? We're going to have to take some risk, but we really, really, really need to do a better job than what we do. Yeah, Clay, I agree with you. You are definitely much better at history than politics.
Amen.
And that's, I don't know, man. I like where we're going with this discussion.
Well, yeah, me too. I'm enjoying this right here. We always have a big time, but Clay, here's something else about Clay too. I've told him this before. He's got a Jeep. Clay knows all this history, and I'm one of these people that I go to the cemeteries. I go visit my mom and my daddy and my grandmothers and friends. I go to the cemetery and I talk. I stand there and I talk, and I know they're not there, but it gives me a good feeling inside, to stand there and talk. But Clay is somebody I would like to ride around with and go to all these other cemeteries, because he knows so much history about a lot of the people that's buried there that we wouldn't have a clue about. And that's on my bucket list, Clay.
Well, you talk about something right there, and that's a great idea that somebody could pick up and run with if we had the right people in place. Having somebody like Clay and somebody like Philip coming together and draw a map of all the historical significant places that somebody could go to. So when somebody, and this is one of the things that Diane and I were talking about today in the text messages. Let me go back to it here. Here we go. The museum consistently has 7 to 12 visitors per day, out-of-towners or locals. So let's just look at that there. If she's got, I'm just going to say an average of 10. And let's say 8 of those or 7 of those are out-of-towners. And something else here, she's talked about the locals who are coming in, who are looking at it from, who are trying to value historical preservation. She's talked about, she's picked up another school, 540 students and teachers humanities classes, and a Living Tennessee history lesson targeted at 9 to 14-year-olds. She's got all these things here I'm looking at, and right here, something. So that, I said I'm trying to see if bringing attention to the museum increased the visitors, and if the numbers have stayed up, considering pushing the Montgomery Enrichment Center. She's like, good. We just need a sign that would help us 100%. Why can't we spend a few $100s to have a sign put out in front of the museum?
I doubt it would take that.
I probably wouldn't. I'd be willing to bet money you could probably find a business locally who would donate. Heck, I'll donate the materials to put a sign up. I bet you would find somebody that would do that, and it probably wouldn't cost us anything. And this here is where, if we have people who are actually looking at trying to promote more than just what they want to promote, but actually truly promote our city, they'd probably jump in there and make it happen.
Mike Fessmeyer said Randy Tyler and Eddie Fessmeyer. Yeah, that was two more local.
Yeah, I heard about Eddie,
Yep.
a hell of a guitar player.
Yep.
So, and this is wonderful. People are jumping in here, and
People are listening.
people are listening. This tells me that people are tuning in, and that's a wonderful thing.
Yep. I'm seeing people comment on here I've never seen before. Comment. So they're listening.
Yeah.
And I've had people message me and text me, why don't y'all bring a laser tag to Lexington? That's not something that an alderman is able to do.
Right.
If I could do that, we would have a Publix or a Winn-Dixie here. We'd have a grocery store here, something besides Walmart.
Yeah. Yeah.
But but until the town starts growing again, which it's stagnant. The
Right.
town is stagnant, and with things going like they're going right now, with all these raises and stuff, you're not going to get anybody come here.
No, no. One of the draws that we had was lower property taxes. And now that we're getting out there and getting, now that we're trying to compete with everybody and trying to be everybody else, but the problem is we don't offer the same levels of things to do that everybody else does, and that's what puts us behind. And I'll tell you something too that kind of annoyed me was I noticed the other day WBJ had a report. I think Jackson had like I can't remember. I think it was $348 million in tourism dollars. Now I'd certainly like to see the metrics in which they measure that there, because somebody mentioned they talk about restaurants and stuff. You know that. How do you can tell which people are coming from out of town to go eat at a restaurant? How can you tell that? And I'm sorry, but if I go to eat at a restaurant, it's not because I'm being a tourist. It's because I'm a damn local. You know, we stop at Patty's for lunch. Why? Because they got good country cooking. I like eating every now and then.
Good food.
That's it. You know, it's yeah, that there is. That's why I think we need to have somebody. We need to have a better grasp on how to take and promote locally here and all that we have to offer, because we're not doing that right now. But if we got behind something like that and we pushed it and made that happen, the growth would be astronomical. And then you know what? A laser tag place is going to sit here and look, wow, man, they pulled 20,000 people in on a weekend because they're doing this and this and this. I want to go there so I can get that part of that 20,000 crowd. You know, our traffic count increase, you know, on those times when we're having that event or whatever it is to draw people. You know, that's going to look at other businesses are going to sit there and say, hey, I want to jump in on that there. And then we can grow retail, we can grow restaurants, we can go grocery stores.
And I'm going to swap us back now. We're fixing to go back into politics right here.
Uh-oh.
Kenny Bedwell. You know, James, before we get our tourists in our city, we're going to have to get our streets back up to par. Am I correct? Absolutely. And guess what? I mean, they spend very little. They want to put very little on street repair. I think it's $120,000 a mile or something like that.
That's about what it's been doing here.
For the asphalt. But then we have our recycling, which when this recycling started, they bought a lot of cans, which cost a lot of money. And when this recycling started, the city was going to make a little bit of money. They used to use some guys that was in the jails, and they'd let them, you know, sort all that out. But then they quit that. So then when they started this recycling, we call a spoke and a hub. And Henderson was the hub. Lexington were a spoke. And we would send our recycling over there. Of course, that's going to cost you a truck, right? 300 and I think
360 somewhere in there,
or 340 or something. That's going to cost you that every 3 years.
340, I think you're right.
And so you're going to have to buy that truck, and you're going to have somebody drive that truck, and you're going to take it over there. Well, then basically they don't want to take anything besides cardboard.
Yeah.
They don't want to take your milk jugs. They don't want to take anything like that. So what's that worth? Because now they're telling you they're not really going to take anything, but now it's costing the city, instead of us making that little dab of money that we were going to make to you know, for the green effort, instead of us making that little bit of money, it's costing us $360,000 a year, I believe it was, Gordon said.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 3 miles of street in the town. 3 miles of street in a town is quite a bit.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that's, you're right, Kenny. I mean, you don't tell you what, every morning, I live up here on northwest of Crossroads. Every morning when we drive in, when I get into Lexington, the first thing I notice every single time is the damn streets. 22 ain't the best in the world, but when I get into Lexington, it gets horrible. When I get by the high school, let me even say that there, when I start getting past Hall Street and I'm coming up the hill, I'm in the right-hand lane because I believe slower traffic stays to the right-hand lane, less going out to pass. But when I get in the city, I ain't staying in that right-hand lane.
No, it's like playing whack-a-mole.
Yeah, I'm dodging those pothole covers because April's got a bad neck. She can't drive because of her neck, and I don't. I'm trying to make it so it's a little bit better road for her to come in, a little bit better ride. But it's kind of like playing. I try not to weave in and out. I use my turn signal to switch lanes because I try to abide by the law. But I'm going to tell you what's really bad is. Generally, I try to take, when I get down there past the high school, I want to be in the left lane.
Amen, Kenny.
Yeah. That asphalt on that parking lot.
Yep.
But the mayor's got a nice place to park now.
Yep.
And so does the city recorder.
Yep.
But I have to, you're right, Candy. You got to drive in the inside lane. Well, like this morning, I couldn't because there was a wide load coming through. So I had to stay over there in the right-hand lane. And I mean, April was complaining when we got to work because the roads were so bad. Even when I'm in that inside lane, a lot of times we got trucks passing by because we don't have a bypass, and I don't know how many years the bypass is supposed to come when we got one leg of it. But here comes this big rig coming, and you'll tell you what, most of the time they're on the yellow line. So I got to watch what's in my right hand, and eventually I have to get back over. I can't even get in the smoother lane because there just ain't enough space.
You have to watch for them gravel trucks coming back and forth too.
And those guys fly up and down.
Have you ever seen one pulled over?
No, no, I haven't. But going into that there, our streets is the very first thing every single person who comes into this town feels.
Oh yeah.
I feel it every morning. Every morning I come to work, I feel it.
And it's just like whack-a-mole. It's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
I remember right where Broad and Church intersect. Let's say I'm coming from the courthouse heading towards Walmart. Right there at the stoplight, right before you get to the stoplight, it's kind of in between the stoplight and the Methodist church there. There's a hole. Well, they had gone back in there and they had re-asphalted it. Well, you know what? There we go. We're kicking in a little bit there. Sorry about that, people. When they re-asphalted over that thing to fill the hole back in, they should have at least put some cones and closed that road there until that asphalt has some time to cure. Because tell you what happened? A big rig comes through there and pushes that asphalt right back out of the hole. If you turn up here, coming down on the Rock Springs Road, there's a big hole there, right there in the beginning, and it's the same thing. It's because they put asphalt in, and the big rig pushes it right out as soon as they put it in because there's no time for it to cure. That's right, Clay. I mean, when they come here and they hit the roads, that's one of the things. We could spend some money on our roads, which benefits us, the citizens, the business owners, the people who are coming into town to spend money, and then we can start promoting what we have. We don't need to be building all brand new stuff. I don't want to spend any more money on that stuff there. Let's work on what we got, and then from there, you know what? Then we have something to offer people to come look at. Then we have stuff for people to say, hey, wow, they have all these events. There was something, I think Jack Johnson shared it to me. I don't know if it was Jack or somebody else shared it with me earlier today about the 15 places not to retire in Tennessee, or not retire friendly. And one of them was Decaturville. And they were talking about the fact that they talk about stuff for older people. The hospital over there was closed, I guess, when they did it. There's no public transportation, but there's really not anything to do. What do we have here for entertainment? I mean, really, what do we have? I mean, I get it. And we could do entertainment with the talent that we have sitting right here, right now, and gain so much more than what we already have. Wow, it's 8:20. We've just been rolling on this topic.
Oh, yeah. And we started off on 74 cents.
Yeah, we started off on 74 cents.
And we didn't even get to the utility rate increase.
And you have to tell you what, the point of me having this podcast tonight is a text I received yesterday. And I'm going to read you the text here. You're going to laugh at this. Don't let people get sideways on the real issues. It's not the debt. It's the 74 cents. It's the hiring. It's the 100% insurance. It's 60% family. It's about hiring family. It's about absurd salaries. It's about ignorant purchases. And that's all true. But I'm going to say right now, we got sidetracked talking about something that I think we'd all like to see happen. I think that we'd all get behind. Kenny, you're right. It used to be a proud small town, from what I've talked to people, just talking with Tim. Tim has told me so much about everything that used to happen around here, and it just, where did it go? Why can't we get it back? All right, Clay's got coming up here asking a question. We're getting back into politics again.
Let me say one thing before you do
Okay.
that. Vivian Keene. Yeah, I'm upset about that too. You know what? Because they wanted your milk jugs to be clean and everything. They washed their plastic before they recycled it, and I did too. Then I got thinking, well, now I'm running up my water bill.
Yeah, that's it.
And then I send it over there, and then they don't want it.
Yeah.
And you can drive through my neighborhood, and you can look, and there will be, I don't know, on garbage day, there may be 7 blue cans sitting out there out of the whole neighborhood. They 7 blue, and I guarantee if you open them up and look, they probably ain't half full.
No.
And they probably got plastic in them that they'll kick back.
It's just a waste.
Yep.
Absolutely a waste.
I just agreeing with you on that rinsing out your stuff. Yep.
That one hasn't come across for me yet. I don't know why I haven't.
Well, it's before Clay. Won't know if we're going to double last year's early vote. Hope so.
Look at there. It's not showing on mine. There's Clay right there about doubling up.
Oh, that's weird.
Well, I guess. Yeah, it must be my phone. Clay.
Jack said a gravel truck slid through the intersection of Hospital Drive, and I remember it took off his license plate. I remember that.
That was his front license plate, wasn't it? His Tennessee license plate.
Yeah, it's a wonder it didn't destroy that gravel truck.
Yeah, they're hitting that Tennessee orange.
Yeah, here, baby.
Okay, and I got to tell y'all something else too. I am sitting in a chair that was gifted to me by Tim. I have not been a UT Vol fan. And matter of fact, I've given Jack and Tim both hell over it because they're both huge UT Vol fans. But this year here, I'm joining my brother, and I'm going to be a Vol fan.
There you go.
So Tim has actually, I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm going to turn a little bit here. If you look at my chair here, Tim gifted me a UT chair.
There's that T.
So that is, I have the Power T as my chair from now on. And most of you may not know this here. Tim has a golf cart.
Sorry, Candy. Take 2 Tylenol and call me in the morning.
She's the one who put the roll tied up, and I puked at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Candy, I mean, there's some things we don't like about you. But Tim's got a golf cart. I'm kind of responsible for that thing there. It is orange, and it has Black Power T logo up on the front of it. Got a nice stereo system. It's lifted. It's got rims and tires on it. Pretty nice little setup, but he was looking for a golf cart, pretty much for the grandkids, and they've got it now. It was supposed to be Tim's for the grandkids when it came over, but it's no longer Tim's. Anyway, this was my first time, begrudgingly, I actually took and set that golf cart up to be a Tennessee-themed golf cart. So anyway, this year here, I've given Tim my word that I'm going to be pulling with him for the Vols, but there ain't no way in hell I'm going to pull for his Chicago Bears.
Come on now.
We're playing you guys October 19th. So.
Well, been rebuilding since 1986.
Yeah, going back to Clay's, do you think this year's vote will double last year's early vote? I don't know. Last election in the city was 800 votes. I think it was 720 something the election before. I think that's what.
What much?
Yeah. I think it was. Yeah. Right now, after today, just so you guys know, y'all are turning out. I'm going to tell you right now, we have it. Tomorrow makes the first full week of early voting, and 128 turned out today. 708 votes in early voting a weekend, and that's some strong numbers. That's mighty strong numbers.
And I just say keep voting. Well, you can't do it more than once. And I'm not encouraging any of that right there. But for those of you who haven't voted, vote. Because I'm telling you, I've heard it with my own 2 ears. They're covered up right now, but I've heard it with my own 2 ears that the voter will forget within a year how you voted on something. I'm telling you, don't forget and vote.
You know, and that's it. That's you guys, and you said it a while ago. People are listening. They tuned into this here, and then they had no inclination that we were going to be where our conversation turned and got to. Heck, I had no inclination of it. You had.
Well, no, I didn't either. That's how we do. That's how we roll.
Yeah, we just kind of got there. So, you guys have. You're listening. You're paying attention. So that tells me that you want. That you want things to go different. And I'm going to tell you this right here. You know, I do everything in my power to stay unbiased in this here. It's the reason I don't tell anybody how to vote. But I've been getting a lot of calls from people telling me that they're getting calls because the Big Four is nervous because you guys are actually out there voting.
And that group right there you just referred to are working the telephone lines now.
Yeah.
They're on the telephone lines. I've been told, I didn't see it, I don't know, but I've also heard the work of the nursing homes too. So that's when you're getting a little bit nervous.
Yeah,
that's why I'm telling you other people that they think that you're going to forget what they've done in the past year or so. That's what they've told me, that people forget within a year, and that's why I'm telling you, do not forget, and you need to get out there and vote.
That's if you want to change, and the stuff that we're talking about right now, get out there and vote, because you know what, I'd be willing to bet money that there are people right now who will jump in here on this here. The new people that would like to get in to be elected and put in on that board, they would probably jump all over this here for one reason, is they're seeing that you actually care about what we're talking about right now. There's people who are paying attention to you and want to do what you want, what you elect them to do. They want to be your representative. That's the reason they want to serve. It's not about them. And I will say this here, I don't have all the history. I really don't. But I can say this here, what I see right now is there's a group that kind of controls things, and they do what they want to do for their own benefit. And they use your tax dollars for their benefit. That's the reality of where we are. Your tax dollars should be going to help you. And I'm going to touch base back on this debt thing, which I'm supposed to be going around to different stuff. But my key thing here is I look back at stuff. We have debt, and what do we gain from it? I'm going to look at solid waste. We got $1.8 million, and we know $1 million of that is from a shredder.
Yeah.
What does that shredder do to help us? What service does it provide to us? What does it do to help us? Have you figured that out?
I went out there and watched it chew up a telephone pole, and I thought, man, that's cool. But they don't give them telephone poles away anyway. So, I didn't vote for it. Certainly didn't. And then the next meeting we had, that's one of them cases right there where they bought something and then they had to come back and get a bond and pay for it.
Yeah.
Because the next meeting they had, the mayor wasn't there, so the vice mayor took over, and so it became a 3-3 vote. And just to say, I wasn't going to vote for a bond to pay for something that I voted no on buying in the beginning.
Right. And you'll tell you what, we should not ever be buying anything if we don't have the money approved beforehand.
The thing caught on fire in 3 or 4 months.
That's crazy. How much are we having to pay somebody to operate that thing?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Is that another wasted salary that we've got? You know, Jack's making the comment, nursing homes haven't let me campaign in them since 2017. I've heard that rumor that there's a sitting alderman who's actually not up for election that's going out to the nursing homes and promoting other candidates. Yeah, whether that's true or not, I have no clue.
I haven't seen it, but that's just the rumor going around.
Yeah, and there's a ton of rumors, and rumors are rumors until proven otherwise. Now if somebody who is, it's just like the phone calls. I mean, I'm hearing about all kind of people that's calling right now. It's pushing to get votes out there. I don't know. I mean, that's. I mean, it's campaigning. It's legal. It's legit. There's nothing really wrong with it.
It's just a desperate move to maintain power and control.
That's kind of how I see it. There's a shift coming, and people are making use of that there. Can we sell the shredder, or are we upside down on it?
I believe we're probably upside down on the day we bought it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a new car.
Yep.
From what I understand, was it a brand new shredder?
Yep.
Okay. It was the first one in the state, from what
That's what I heard.
Why we needed it, I'm sure they'll bring in somebody. They'll hire somebody to come up here and tell us why we had to. They'll call a professional shredder agent, and they'll probably pay him $2,000 to come up here and stand up in a meeting and say, "Well, y'all needed this shredder for this reason here, and you have zero debt." Is that probably what happened?
You could be right.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't poke fun. Let's just say, what if it becomes a 5-2 vote? Where does the city go from there?
Downhill.
Well, it depends on which way that 5-2 vote goes,
Yeah.
Kenny.
Yeah.
That's if I'm going to say it this way here, this is going to be my analogy. If we have a 5-2 vote that's aligned with Tim Rhodes, where does the city go from here? I think the city starts making a ton of corrections, fixing issues, and focusing on the citizens, not the employees, and not the government itself. If the 5-2 vote goes the other way, I expect that you will see a property tax increase coming in next year. I'm going to say and let me just tell you guys how important this election is. All it takes is just one seat. If one wrong person is elected, you now have a 4-3 board. And they approved $500,000 of spending this year, that they pulled that money out of our rainy day fund, out of our reserve account. Well, guess what? You can't keep pulling money out of reserves. Eventually, you're going to have to raise rates or taxes to pay for it. And in that money, quite a bit of that there is recurring expense because they gave another pay raise. So, you're going to have to take and look at this here is one wrong person, they're going to be raising property taxes next year. And based on what we know, I'm going to say it will be a minimum of an 11-cent property tax to be able to pay for their expenses. Now, I doubt the mayor, if he gets up there on the board, if he happens to win his alderman seat, is going to step up there and say, "Well, I told you guys you got to quit the spending. We got to take care of our people. I love you.
Yeah.
We got to take care of our people. We
Yeah.
got to take care of our people. So let's keep giving them raises. We need to give them 100% insurance. We need to give them 60% on their family. Let's keep giving it to them." Now, I told you guys, if y'all keep doing this spending like this here, this reoccurring spending, you're going to get us in debt.
And who pushed that agenda?
I've loved yous.
Yeah.
But don't you want your toilet to flush and your lights to come on?
Right.
Yeah. Or if I've heard that a million times. I used to love the one that I used to hear quite a bit was, we got to treat everyone equally, or everyone the same.
That disappeared.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to that there. Well, I kind of know when it disappeared. Last election.
Oh yeah, yeah. What I can say about the last election was we've always had a spirited debate at the table.
Right, right.
And I think every community, every board is going to have spirited debate, and I'm sure they have it on the county commission. That's just everybody shouldn't think alike all the time, and so we've had a spirited debate. But after the last election, it's become very hostile inside that room right there. You can feel tension when you walk inside the room. It's become very, very hostile inside there. I mean, it's becoming now where you got people telling you not to talk. You can't talk, trying to make you quit talking, and others who are raising their voice real loud at you because they've been doing that to whoever they've been boss of for the last how long. But it's become very tense in there.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you on that. Yeah, Clay, we definitely need some. Definitely need to have some kind of amplification of the meetings. Now, I will say this here, and I'm not tooting my horn, but some of this new software I'm actually operating with is I'm able to download videos and boost the audio post meeting. The problem is I can't do it while it's live. I have to download it and then boost it and then share it back up to our YouTube channel. I did that with the last meeting, and the audio came out a whole lot better where you can actually hear what's going on, because initially when I clicked on to watch the video and I couldn't hear, and so I just turned it off. I'm like, you know what, I just have to address this at a later point.
I'm going to address Donna and Clay right here talking about not being able to hear, need some microphones up there. Well, two meetings ago, I made a motion that the people get to speak at the beginning of the meeting instead of at the end, because we're fixing to talk about something that affects these people.
Well, hold on a second now.
Yeah.
I want you to clarify something.
Yeah.
You're going to discuss and approve something.
No, I'm not.
Well, that's what the agenda says now. You're
I know
supposed
what
to do
the agenda says, and we've tried to get that changed too.
Yes, we have.
But what we're doing right here is I want to hear these people talk. I want to hear what they got to say. Just like I said, the little lady comes and she's on a fixed income. I believe that woman. There are people on fixed incomes out here that cannot afford any more of these insane rate increases all the time and everything. They've had they had one water increase, I think it was last March. Well, then they've just voted in another water, gas, and sewer increase. And if I'm not mistaken, people are already saying, God, my water is out of sight. I don't even think it goes into effect to June 26th. And then they said they'll raise it again in 2 years.
Yeah.
I want to hear these people what they got to say, because they should have a say before we vote. Where I'm going with this, though, is about the microphones. So what I'm saying is, and so that passed. So now the people will be able to speak before there's a vote. And it shouldn't say discuss and approve. It should just say discuss, vote. I mean,
Right.
saying discuss and approve, so I'm expecting you to approve this, which is, that's kind of rubs me wrong. But you know what? When this new board comes in here, in the interest of people hearing and stuff, we need an alderman to say, hey, it's not going to cost much for us to have microphones here. And I make a motion that we mic up right here where everybody can hear us. And I don't know, surely people wouldn't vote against that.
Well, can I tell you something? You know how much that microphone you talking into costs?
How much?
$20.
$20.
And I'm going to tell you right now, it's a Behringer XM8500. When I was doing research on this here, the microphone I'm talking into actually came in a kit that gives me the podcast equipment, the microphone, and the headphones that Tim's wearing. It cost me $180. Now, I opted for something a little bit nicer because, this is, I'm hoping to make this more of a regular thing. But those microphones that Tim's talking into was $20. And when I researched it, that was one of the highest rated microphones for doing podcasting and for recording without dealing with a lot of. I don't have any sound dampening in here, so the microphones, and it's easy. I mean, just set the gain on the thing and go. It's real simple. So yeah, it doesn't take a lot of money to come back in here and do this here. The webcam that you watching us on was $20 on Amazon. It doesn't take a lot of money to do this stuff here. I'm actually using a laptop that I bought specifically for this. I picked it up used at McKay's bookstore in Nashville, and I think I paid $110 for it. For $1,000, I could easily set up that room to work. And I'm going to tell you something too. I'm going to throw the county in on this one here as well. This is something that kind of bugs me, and I guess Jack's still watching. He could probably tell you this to be true. The county, we don't have any. The county doesn't have any microphones on the commissioners, but you know what they do have a microphone on? The podium where the people step up there to speak. They want to hear what the people have to say, but they don't want the people to hear what they have to say. Gosh.
They don't want to hear them talk too long, though.
Yeah. Let's put a cap on that time frame. Which, I mean, you guys put a cap, I think, too. But y'all want the 5 minutes, which I think is reasonable.
5 minutes, right.
That's reasonable.
But I've heard it said before. I've heard an alderman say, "Are we going to have to listen to her again?"
Yeah. And I'm going to shoot. Tim obviously is not up for election, and for you guys who don't know, I'm expecting November, maybe December time frame. Sometime November, December time frame. Tim is actually is building a house, and we've brought this up before. He's going to be moving outside of the city, so he will no longer be an alderman. I'm going to say probably by January 1, he will not be an alderman. They will be appointing somebody, and you don't have a vote in your replacement, do you?
No, I do not. So they better be very careful who they're voting for right now.
Right. And let me explain to you how this works. Now, when they had the charter change, and I'm going to address that in a minute because that's one of the questions I had sent to me. When they had the charter change that they started back in November 2022, it gave the mayor the voting right. So what happens here is when Tim steps down, because he will be required to by law to step down from his position, let's just sit there and say that there's 3 people that's already there that's not up for election, and those 3 are part of the 4. We all know that they're going to try to get the candidate that they want to replace Tim. That's just the bottom line. They're going to find who they want that will align with them, that they can control, to be part of their 4, so they have control of the board. Now here's the deal. They've got 3. Now let's just sit there and say that 3 people that you guys choose to be aldermen are actually aligned with Tim. Well, now you've got to vote. When Tim steps down, that's going to leave 6 aldermen. 3 aldermen on each side. It's hopefully that's where it will be, is where the election ends. They're each going to put up the candidate they want to replace Tim. The mayor now has a tie-breaking vote, and that mayor will be the one who will make the decision on who replaces Tim. So, when this election comes about, it's very important. In every position is very important. And while I'm out of here, I want to take in, like I said, I had after last Tuesday, I had a message, after we did the podcast Tuesday, I had a message sent to me asking me about the charter change. Let me go back in and give you guys a recap on this here. November 2022, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, the Board of Aldermen voted to do a change to the charter. The change to the charter was to allow the mayor to have a vote, a tie-breaking vote. So, in other words, if there were 6 aldermen, which is enough to make a quorum, that the mayor would have a tie-breaking vote. If there's 4 aldermen present, you still have a quorum, and the mayor can break, if there's a 2-2 vote there, he can break that tie. So, that's what happens there. That's one of the things that changed, was the mayor having a tie-breaking vote, and the other thing was to allow hiring of department heads outside of the city limits. That's what I remember from it.
Right.
Okay. Those two things are what they voted to approve.
They had to be in the county, but they
Right.
didn't have to
They
live
had to be in the
city.
county, but they didn't have to live in the city. So that was the two things that was voted for in that election. I mean, in that charter change. Now remember, when you're doing a charter change, 4-3 don't work in this. You have to have what they call a supermajority. You got to have 5 votes to 2. That's the only way you can get a charter change. So that charter change came about, and I believe that was a unanimous vote. I haven't gotten minutes from that meeting, and I was not in.
I'm not sure
I
that
didn't
Jack
record
voted
it.
for it.
Okay. But anyway, there was a charter change there. They got 5 votes to send it up. That was the two things that was supposed to change in the charter. Okay. Well, the mayor and the city recorder puts all this information together. They send it off to MTAS. MTAS drafts up the charter change, and they send it back to the mayor, and then they send out an email to the alderman. All right. Now, what happened here was somewhere between the time the alderman voted on it, the mayor made a change in that he added something to that charter change which the board did not vote on. And that change brought all the department heads under the city recorder, which kind of circumvented the board. The board did not vote on this. This was something the mayor did. And we know the mayor did it because of a meeting that happened last August. But moving forward, the mayor sends that off. MTAS writes it up, sends it back. The mayor sends out an email to the board to let them know this is what's going up. Apparently the board never looked at it. It goes to the state. Well, then the state legislature reads over it, and they have to vote on it. And once they vote on it, they go back to the private acts regarding that particular chapter, and then they make what they call a public chapter, and that's the change. That's actually what happened. Well, then that change has to come back down to the board, and the board has to vote to ratify it, which means at this point the board initially voted on it. It got changed. It came back down. They got an email they never looked at. It went to the state, got passed through the state, came back, and it got voted in and accepted by the board. The board failed because they did not read over what was put up there. And that's where the problem.
Broken trust.
Broken trust, right.
Broken trust.
You guys trusted that what you voted on was
Yes.
going to be taken care of by the mayor, and he did not
Yes.
do what he was supposed to do.
And then the guy from MTAS came,
Right. And that was last August. I
Yep.
think it was 26th of August when he came.
and Alderman Wildridge put him on a hot seat.
Pushed him.
Put him on a hot seat.
He had to push. What did Alderman Wildridge find out in that when he pushed him?
He wanted to know who put this in this charter to let
The city recorder
the
had
city recorder basically be over all the departments. And one reason we lost our department head from LES.
Yeah.
Who done that? Man tried to sidestep it like 2 or 3 times. Alderman Wildridge says, I ask you who put that in there. The man kind of dropped his head and said, the mayor. I looked down at the end of the table, man, you ought to have seen the look. The look in their eyes when that man told the truth right there. And Gordon said, that's what I thought, that's what I knew. I rest my case.
So there you go. That's what happened at that meeting. And where we are now, can that be corrected? Absolutely not. Because it has been voted on and approved it was voted on initially by the board, 5-2. It got voted on by the state, passed, and it got ratified by the board by at least a vote of 5-2. I don't remember what the vote was. I haven't looked it up. It's really irrelevant other than the fact that it took 5 votes to ratify it as well. Can they undo that? No. Period. No. It followed proper procedure and proper protocol, and it's passed. The only way to fix that is to go back in there and make another charter change, Well, I can tell you right now that will not get fixed for 2 years because you have 3 people who will not vote for that change.
No way.
That's the 3 that's going to be continuing to be board members after this election. So if you want to change that charter, if you want to make that charter change back to where the board of aldermen, your elected representatives, have more oversight of what's going on with these department heads, then you need to make sure that you change the aldermen and get at least 5 aldermen who will take and make this happen. They're the ones who are going to have to take and make the change. But it will not happen for at least 2 years.
After seeing Alderman Wildridge call that man out, and that man dropping his head and saying that, I haven't trusted anything since.
Well, I lost my trust long before that. But
Well,
you know what?
I guess
That just-
I had some too, but that right there really broke it. I mean, that was yeah. Oh yeah, I've been getting attacked for 2 years, verbally, yeah, every way.
Yeah, and that's so. Anyway, you understand now what's going on. I'm going to come back and hear some of these questions here. Yes, Candy, it's going to be a sad day when Tim steps down. Where do they get candidates? Well, Kenny, they'll take and make presentations. They'll bring up the candidate that they want. We don't have any say in that. You know, that's just the bottom line is we don't have any say in the candidates. That's going to be the board, and that's because the city charter. That's how it's set up to do.
When I got it was in 2017.
Howard Buck.
It was Jack Johnson and Griggs was running against each other, and both of them had 2 years remaining in their seats. So obviously one of them was going to win, one was going to lose. So I was going to all the meetings. Back then you had 2 a month and you had special. I never missed a meeting because I was going to go, number 1, could I do it? Number 2, did I even want to do it? And so I was going to all the meetings, soaking it in, watching it, seeing how the wheels roll. So when it actually comes time, now I don't know how they'll do it this next time, but when it comes time, they put out a resume in the paper for 2 weeks. I'm not a resume. They put out an ad in the paper for 2 weeks in a row. You had to send in your resume, and you had to send in. You had to get people to, write up, good recommendations for you and all that. Then on separate nights, you couldn't hear what the other person said. You could because it was they did it over 2 or 3 nights, and you couldn't hear what these other people that was trying for it was. But when I came in, there were 7 people. There were 7, me included. There were 7 of us vying for that position. And so what you had to do then was you had to go up there before the board, and you had no idea what they were going to ask you. You just stood at that podium, and each one off that board, they take turns going back and forth. They ask you 3 or 4 questions, and you just had to shoot from the hip. So you just kind of had to be,
Tells you if you're paying attention.
Yep, tells if you're paying attention. You had to shoot from the hip. So, and I got it.
So I hope you guys listen to that there. If you have any political aspirations, when Alderman Rhodes steps down, if you want to get in here, you better be paying attention because you never know what they're going to ask you. And as we've been trying to explain to you, there's a lot going on. All right, coming up in here, no, Nelva, there's not going to be a special election. The city charter establishes the way that replacement is picked. So that's what they'll follow by. No, I'm not going to say that there because I'm going to tell you right now, if the right people are in position, this doesn't have to stay the same way it is. There can be a 4-3 swing in the benefit of the people. Yeah, and Donna was explaining in there exactly how it's done. Boom, boom, boom. Will the new board be able to change that? Absolutely. The board can, once you get a board and you have 5-2 voting, then yes, you can change pretty much whatever you want to change in the charter. Elections can change. We can get away from this crap of, I'm going to continue to call it crap because voting by position I don't like. If there is, right now there is 3 alderman seats open, well guess what? And there's 1 mayor position. If 5 people run in the mayor, the top vote getter gets it. If you have 3 alderman seats, 10 people run, the top 3 vote getters get it. That's an at-large election, and that's really what we should be having instead of this. See, what happens is right now is the way the election is set up, you can pick and choose who you want to run against. And what this allows is people and people that have, it allows people to stay in control. This is an excellent election of it right now. When you look at the 4, the mayor was stepping down. Wasn't going to run for mayor. I kind of figured he was done in city politics.
I did too.
But you want me to tell you what? It's like you're saying, at that meeting where he didn't put the property tax increase in there, we knew at that point he was going to run. And what happens is now he gets to pick who he runs against. And that's exactly what happened here. That's why this needs to change. We need to go back in and just let the best 3 candidates win the election.
That's why he ran against Jimmy White, because Jimmy White is not on their team.
Exactly.
So he picked him out.
That's it. Because guess what? Position 4 was Fred Ellis.
They weren't going to run against Fred.
They weren't going to run against Fred. And Gordon was running for mayor.
Right.
So they went against the person they want to get out. This is how they control elections. Thank you for providing that clarity, Ruby. Gordon did not vote for the charter change, just so you guys know, on either time. Hey, Kenny, we will need Tim as a commissioner. Then I hope you. I'm tell you what, when Tim gets out in the county, I'm going to put my support for Tim to run for county mayor. Boy, because we need that some kind of bad. But you know, if he made it as a commissioner too, I mean, him serving on the. If Tim gets elected in county, you know, we can truly know that we have a representative that cares about us. All righty. Well, I guess that's, man, I'm going to tell you right now, dude, we are almost 2 hours in and we still got a pretty strong following. That's amazing. You know, you guys sticking in here this long, just, you know, it blows my mind, you know, and this is really, really what my vision of this was, of what this podcast could be is, you know, it's back and forth. You know, y'all are talking with us. It's not just us up here, you know, feeding information to you. You know, we're having conversations, and we're having conversations with you guys. And you know, and we do have, there's a time delay, because when I start streaming from the software, I have to go in there, and there's normally I don't know, a 5 or 10 second delay in there. So you know, we do have some time that bounces between us. But you know, so having a we do have some delay there, but we're having a conversation. We're just having a good time. Yeah. We're laughing, we're joking, and you know, Tim converted me to the Vols this year.
There you go.
So I mean,
and we're just shedding a little light. And you know what? Since you got here, all I can say is, you know, you've shed a whole lot of light on them, and they don't like that light. And if there's if I have helped in any way to pull that curtain back a little bit, like the Wizard of Oz, and show the little man back there behind the curtain, I'm glad. I'm glad, because I've only done. It's just like somebody tried to shut me up at a meeting one night. I told them, you didn't hire me, you didn't fire me, you can't eat me. I was elected by the taxpayers.
That's it.
And that's who I'm there to represent.
You know, that's it. I mean, you know, thank you for the kind words.
Yes, thank you very much.
You know, it's I just do what I do because I'm a citizen, and I believe that, you know, it's my civic responsibility to question government when I see something wrong, and I just like to share the information out there so others can see it as well. But I'm going to say this here: when you stepped up on that first meeting, I think you took this page to a whole different level, because now it's not somebody on the outside that's giving information, it's somebody on the inside that's sharing it. And I think that that is vital, because I think that builds more and more trust and provides credibility to the information that we're sharing, because you are seeing it. You're dealing with it every day. You get information that we don't get.
Hadn't made me any friends on that board. I've got a couple of good friends on that board, but there's some more of them that let's just say hadn't made me friends with them, but guess what? They never were friends anyway.
Well, you know, I've got people, heck, you and I have disagreed.
Yeah.
That doesn't change our friendship. You know, you can separate the differences with it. You know, it is what it is. You know, I don't know, you know, but bottom line is, you know, we're going to continue. This page is going to continue to share information about what's going on in local politics and how it impacts you. But, you know, we're going to open it up some more and start having more conversations like this here. And you know what? I'm hoping that after this election is over, that we start getting, I don't know how we'll go. You know, we won't be doing nowhere near the amount of podcasts we're doing now. But I believe that I believe that I would like to see politicians step up and join the podcast. Whether we're doing it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever, I would love to have them come up here, just like Tim is doing, and share with you guys what's going on. I really believe that this is a platform for them to get information out. You know, I'm gonna say this here as well. You know, I mean, we jumped on this podcast and started doing it, and ever since we started, I'm starting to watch everybody else do videos too, just jumping on doing the same thing.
All right.
And it's like, okay, well, you know, and that's a good thing, because it's working. It gets the word out there to you guys.
But you know, you invited every single one that's running to come, and I mean, a sitting alderman can come here too.
Right.
Here I am.
That's right.
So you invited all the rest of them to come, but they declined.
Yeah, and that's,
It's because, you know, they don't want them softball questions.
well, they don't want to come up here with me then. 'Cause
I hear you.
I ain't gonna ask the easy questions.
I hear you.
You know, it's you know,
You mean you're not going to pass out a list of what they need to learn?
no. Now I will tell you right now, if you know, initially from the start, you know, I kind of asked the same questions, but from then, when we got kind of going in the second round of things, I started changing up the questions,
Right.
and I wasn't consistent between candidate to candidate. But at this point, we had some time to hear where they stood, to find out what's going on, to hear people's complaints, hear people's issues, and then we could go back in and we could start asking questions of them from that point there. You know, so, and you know what? I've asked some difficult questions, you know, and it doesn't matter who the candidate was. You know, questions need to be asked. Yeah, you're right, Kenny. Friendship's friendship, business is business. I mean, you know, we just separate the two, and you know, when we get done here, if Tim and I want to go out tomorrow night and have a beer together and enjoy a meal, we're going to. I mean, it's, you know, it's just how we are. But anyway, like I said, man, we are over 2 hours. That's crazy.
We do it every time.
Yeah, I know. Well, we have a good time doing it.
We had a good time.
That's,
I enjoyed it.
That's it. Let's. Anything else we need to address in here? Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate those kind words, brother. I really do. And I'm going to tell you right now, my belly certainly thanks you, because you kept feeding. He always made sure I had a full plate going home.
Me
Normally
too.
it's one of those.
I'd look up and here come banana pudding.
Well, you know what? I got banana pudding the second time, because you ate the last bowl the first time around.
Well,
That was wrong.
I know one night he gave me 2 bowls of banana pudding.
And that's probably you grabbed one of mine.
He said, I better bring this to you because this is the last one. Thank you, Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny. It definitely has been a great night. I mean, this is, yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. I mean, I can't say it enough. It's thank you. And personally, I'm proud of Lexington right now for getting out and voting. You know, this is the one thing that you can do to do anything to help yourself is going to that polls and just casting your vote. So, you know, keep doing it. Keep showing out. I mean, you guys are doing an awesome job. we don't have a date for a next podcast at this point. We Donna Ross has been keeping updates on the election numbers. What I'm going to do is, Donna's going to take and post every night with that there, and let her go in there and continue to post. So we'll just share her posts as they come about, just to, so you guys know how the voting's going with early voting. So she'll help keep you involved in that there.
We got a lot of good comments here. I thank everybody for the kind comments.
Yeah,
And I'm just tickled y'all enjoyed it, and we enjoyed it, and I hope it's opened some eyes that wasn't open, and I just hope if you hadn't voted, go vote. Don't let them win. Like I said, I just keep repeating this. I'm repetitious. They say you'll forget it. Just don't forget it. Take care of business.
And I'm going to say, this to me, what we're all seeing here is any elected official should want to come up here and do a podcast like this here, because what they're doing is, what Tim's doing right now is he's talking to you, the people he represents, and we're bouncing ideas, we're having a good time, and yeah, we are talking about some of the harder subjects, but we're just kind of getting in there. We're finding out where you stand, and hopefully we can just continue this type of behavior as we're moving forward. And like I said, anyone, I don't care if you're on a county commission, if you're on a committee or whatever, if you want to come on this podcast, just send me a message. It's not hard to do. You guys all know I'm at Pretty Paul's Grooming, right beside the Princess Theater. Stop in and see me. I will set up a date around your schedule as long as I'm available, and I will do a podcast with you. Here's your opportunity to come and engage with the citizens and talk back and forth and see how things are going. So you know what? Again, you guys keep up the great work at the voting polls. If you've got any more questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask the questions. I'll continue to answer them the best I can. If I don't have an answer, I'll get you an answer. And generally, I can find one pretty easy. And anybody who wants to come on, if you're an elected official, or whatever you are, if you want to come up on and talk to the citizens, come on, give me a call. This is an open podcast for anybody who wants to come in. This is all about the people. This is the people's podcast. I mean, it's really what it is. Anyway, we're going to shut it down for tonight. We're 2 hours and 8 minutes in. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. Thank you again, Tim, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Hopefully Tim and I'll be doing this a lot more often as well. I mean, even when he gets off, heck, we might even come up here and maybe Saturday night and have a recap of the ball game.
Yeah. Go Vols.
I can't believe I'm going to say it. Go Big O.
Go.
All right, you guys have a wonderful night. Thank y'all for showing up. We'll see you next time.